Hello everyone, my name's Jonathan and I'm part of the Shortcuts education team. So before I worked with Shortcuts, I was a hairdresser for about 20 years and as well as a manager for several of those, which is why I'm particularly excited about this new feature and presenting it to you today. So I really believe that this targeting feature really would have helped me as a stylist and as a manager. It's really, really simple and very easy to use. So just to let you know, this webinar will last about 30 minutes. My microphone is turned on, so you should be able to hear me. Everyone else's is muted, so don't worry if you don't have a mic. If you do have a question, just pop it in the chat box and we'll pick those up at the end. So my colleague Sandra is also here to hand. She'll be around during the question time at the end, just in case you've got any in-depth questions. And in case we run out of time and we don't get to your question, I do apologise in advance, and we will get back to you outside of the webinar. And remember, you can always call our help desk on 1300 667 374. So today, what we'll cover is why your staff need the goals and targets, which targets you should be tracking, how to track them, and we'll also be taking a little look at the new targeting feature and how it can help your employees succeed. So why is it important to set goals and targets for your team members? Well, they give clarity around your expectations of them in their role. And at any given time, your team will know exactly how they are tracking to meet those expectations when they're using this new targeting feature. When they have a goal or a target to reach, it's great for elevating their motivation. So they can see the targets they need to achieve and help your business grow. And it will also give them a sense of worth in seeing how they can play a key role in your business, whilst also being held accountable. So give your team something specific to work towards, something they can easily visualize as it can all be measured, and you'll be able to see at a glance what's working and what might need to be adjusted. So if one of your team is underperforming, say on retail sales, you'll be able to help them put into place some strategies to boost their sales. And remember, having something to aim for is super important. So having the goals and targets for your employees, they will help define a vision of where they want to be and imagine a path of how to get there. It helps them prove how amazing they are to you and your business by showing their performance. And if they're killing it at, say, rebooking and service sales, they will be able to show you. Plus, it's always a good reminder for you to know that you have amazing team members working for you. The targets and goals also help to encourage people to think about the meaning of their work and how it ties into the bigger picture. So without clear goals, it can be easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day. And if all your employees have clearly defined targets they need to meet, the success of the business can be more collaborative. So encourage them to think about that bigger picture. Goals and targets build accountability too by creating talking points. So do people meet their goals? What are the reasons they meet them or maybe don't meet them? How did they get there and where are they heading? And they also encourage people to measure their work and think beyond that simple execution. But make sure that you do set realistic targets for your staff and business, because setting unrealistically high targets for your team can often do more harm than good. So of course you want to set a high standard for your team, but remember just to keep in mind that it does need to be achievable. If they consistently fail to meet their target benchmarks due to them being set too high, it will negatively affect their motivation. Targets need to be within their reach to encourage them to push just that little bit more to achieve them. And you know your team better than anyone else, so please set those first targets at something very achievable and then increase them from there. Analyze and adjust your targets regularly. Once you set your targets for your team, make sure you keep an eye on them, on their weekly performance, and pick out any trends. Have regular catch-ups with your team just to check in on them to see how they feel about how they're going against their targets. Remember always to analyze and adjust, because if someone is killing it at, say, service and retail, but struggling at rebooking, you can set a target to help them increase their rebooking. Put an action plan into place, as this will help give them a benchmark to work towards each week. And maybe you do have employees who are consistently bringing in a higher spend per ticket, so reward them and create goals for others to improve in that area too. So where do you want to improve? So choose an area on which to focus a goal for improvement. So many seemingly intangible goals can be restated in a measurable way. So for example, the unmeasurable, I want to make more money, might be restated as a more measurable, I want to increase my revenue by 10% this year. And how are you doing so far? So assess the current performance of your chosen improvement target, as this identifies the starting line for your goal. And when possible, use existing reporting with which you can monitor progress. How much do you want to improve by? So set an attainable target for improvement. This is your goal. The target should be realistic and achievable with the factors under your control. Setting a higher target than your current capacity can produce a self-defeating. Attainable goals create motivation, while unrealistic goals will discourage. And when will you improve by? So set a deadline for accomplishing your goal with markers along the way to check whether you are on track to reach the finish line. Breaking your deadline down into periodic review dates like this will help your progress and make aggressive targets less daunting. So now that we know just how important it is to set clear benchmarks and targets for your team, let's just chat about some of the key targets that you should be tracking. So what are the numbers that you need to keep a close eye on each week? So these numbers are your client visits, your rebooking percentage, your average spend per visit, service sales, retail sales, and your total sales, which are for your business and your employees. So your client visits, by tracking the number of client visits historically with the aim to increase these, you will in turn see either an increase in revenue or a problem. If your revenue doesn't increase with more visits, it's important to look at any changes you need to make to your pricing or the type of visits that you're receiving. So we all know it's much easier to retain a client than it is to attract a new one. That's why it's so important to be tracking your rebooking percentage and ensuring your clients stay loyal to your business. If one of your broader business goals is to increase visit frequency, make sure your team are all offering a revisit timeframe recommendation that will suit the client and your business model. Clients rely on you to tell them when they need their next appointment, so encourage your team to have that rebooking date ready for their visit. You can set a rebooking percentage target for your employees to keep a close eye on, and this KPI will directly influence visit frequency. If you can continually improve on your average spend targets, each client becomes increasingly valuable, and each visit does too. So show your staff ways to upsell, whether that's with add-ons, aftercare, or treatment plans, and make sure they understand the importance of the upsell. Net sales, individual sales, retail sales, they all paint a picture of the health of the business. Setting individual sales targets can drive motivation and reward high-performing team members. By giving your team visibility over daily net sales targets, they can be encouraged to work together to achieve a united goal. By setting retail sales targets, your team will be encouraged to upsell and in turn increase average spend. So these targets can now be tracked very easily in our dashboard in the cloud. And the reason we've got this new feature is because we really want to help you transform and grow your business. So you never need to wonder if you're staying on target again, because you'll be able to see immediately how your business is performing against the numbers that matter most. Track your performance at any time throughout the week on any mobile device. You and your team will be encouraged to stay up to date on weekly goals. Their achievements mean a more highly successful business for you. Update targets quickly and easily as the team progress and grow. And by monitoring the performance of your team, it will make individual employee reviews an absolute breeze. So with your new targets feature, you can set targets for both the business and individual employees. And the 6 business targets within the targets dashboard for you to set are those which we've had a look at today. And for those of you with multi-sites, targets are set per site. So if an employee does work at multiple locations, they will need to have separate targets set up and configured for each site. So what I'm going to do is just quickly leave the slides and we're going to go and pop up into the cloud appointment book area just to give you a little show around of the new feature. Just bear with me a second. So you may or may not recognize this area, but for those of you that do, what we're going to do is, first of all, you need to get each of your employees into a security role. So each of your employees needs to be registered for the cloud reporting. Then we need to set them into a role. So we go down to General and into Roles. Just on the left, you'll be able to see the employee is selected. At the moment, we have Chris as our employee in this role setup. And down at the bottom, Chris can view his KPIs and targets. So that's the very important bit you need to get each of your employees into. Then in Employees and Rosters, we can set up our targets. So I'm just going to pop down to Chris. So for Chris, I've given him a total of 1,800 per week, 1,500 from sales, and 300 from retail. Given his rebooking percentage at 60 to begin with an average of 11 customers per week, but if they bring in 150, he should reach his target. And then up at the top, we've given the business a weekly target. You will notice that you can, with the business, have the target including or excluding tax. So I've given 1,800, 1,500, 3,000, so 15,000 should I say, and the rebooking at 70%. We're going to pop back into the menu and then down to reports. So in the reporting area, we have our targets feature. So what you'll see are those 6 figures all on this one screen. So they're all in one place for you. Across the top, in terms of sales, we can see there are 2 lines. So one is for the target, and the other is actually how that person is tracking. So what I've done is chosen a week in the past, so you can see how that week finished. And if we just hover over parts of the line on per day, we'll be able to see just a little bit of information on how that person's tracking or should be tracking. And then across the bottom, we can see the average spend, and if your employee is reaching that spend, the number of visits and the rebooking as well. Also at a glance, you'll be able to see the red and green. So I can see very easily that 2 of these targets were met because they're green and 4 of them weren't because they're red. So it's very, very easy. You have your date range there at the top. Then we can look at the particular site or location, which business, and in the corner it would be the employee or the business as a whole. So just going to pop back into the slides. So the chances are you can probably get going with this targets feature today. So what you need to do though is make sure you are on one of the Essentials, Evolve or Elevate packages. If you're not or you're unsure, then please call the customer care team on 1300 667 374, option 2. There are a couple of pages on our website you can go to there as well. So you can go to the targets and the targets get started pages. And if anyone's got any questions, if you'd like to just pop those into the box at the bottom, we should be able to answer those for you. So we've got no questions at the moment, which is, well, that's good. It is very easy. I was wondering which questions you would have. So it is a very, very easy feature. I do have actually one question here. So just bear with me a second. So how do the staff see the targets? So they can have the targets on their phone. So once we create the security settings, you will get to determine what they can see on their phone. So they will get to see their own figures, but they won't get to see any of your business figures. So you'll be fine with the business figures still staying private. And with the rebooking, if you have made a heap in advance, does that calculate them over time? Okay, I understand that question. Sandra, do you know the answer to this question?
Yes, sure. So with the rebookings, it is only counted as one on the same day. So if they are making multiple rebookings, unfortunately, the cloud way of calculating that doesn't cater for, say, the next 3 appointments in the future.
Good, that's what I thought as well, so that's good. So how do the therapists track themselves? Again, on their phone. So we can set that all up on their phone. So again, the help desk is here to help you set this up. So that's all good. Don't need to worry about the therapist or your stylist getting the access. Does it calculate it in Fusion, Sandra?
If that person can type back which calculation that they're looking for, that would be great, and we'll come back to your question again.
And I think that was it for our questions, Sandra, today.
All right, that's good.
Oh, the rebooking. Sorry, Jane has just got back to us, Sandra. So
okay.
The rebooking that she was asking about Fusion.
Yeah, so there's no change to the Fusion side of it. You can still use the rebooking prompt if you like. So yeah, if that's the way that you track it in your business, then you can continue doing so within the Fusion reports. Just bear in mind that the cloud rebooking figure may not work for you. And when it comes to setting your targets for that one, just leave it blank, because if you leave the any of the targets there, you can set up all 6, or you can set up 1 or 3, it doesn't matter. It will just, when yourself or the stylist get to look at their dashboard, it will only show what's relevant for them. So if you prefer to track your rebooking through Fusion, continue doing it that way. Otherwise, set the rebooking target up in the cloud, and they can use it there instead.
Great, thanks for that, Sandra.
No worries.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Sandra, as well. And we hope you have a great time with our new targeting feature. Again, any questions, please contact customer care on 1300 667 374, and that is option number 2. Thank you very much.